right, we just finished the workout because you're on 75 hard and you had to get your second workout in, so you're here at my home gym in La Mesa, California. But now let's talk shop.
Let's go.
Tell me about you and your team, the structure that you guys have set up.
Yeah, for sure. So I got into real estate full-time in 2017. Had a lot of business, and then in 2018 my husband and I decided to start a team. It's evolved over the years and kind of changed over the years. Right now we have 5 agents plus the 2 of us. We do around 150 to 200 transactions a year. Texas, so we got to talk in units and
not volume.
Not volume, yeah, because that was like 7 million. Kidding. And then then we moved over to Real in 2021, and it's been a wild ride.
Talk to me about that, because obviously you were one of the earliest adopters of Real. You got here even before I did in 2022. Yeah. Was it everything that you hoped and dreamed? How's the journey been? Tell me why you moved to Real and why you like it.
Well, and I know you know this, but not a lot of people know this. I actually joined Real in 2015 when I first got my license, and I hung it here. I was here for 2 years effectively, and then in 2017 we moved to Coldwell Banker. We were there for almost 5 years, and then moved here in 2021. So for me, the biggest thing was the economics, right? Like I looked at apples to apples commission, and it was a big, significant, like 6-figure dollar amount swing in commission and what we would make here. And so I was like, okay, that's awesome. And then there's this like stock thing. So if we do stock purchase program, we get some shares for as much as we were doing in volume. Both Ryan and I have hit elite every year we've been here. So like that's been really cool. And then like the revenue share thing, I was like, well, if like I know people and they want to come over, that's just all additional kind of like cherries on top of the ice cream sundae or cake or whatever we want to say. But like the biggest thing was just like the commission, right? So when we look at the model and we look at the financials, it was such a significant change for us. And obviously now has been a very significant change over the years as we've grown with Real.
Sure. There's other models though that are maybe even lower costs if you think about like super like fluffy models and things like that. What was it about Real that really caught your eye aside from the economics?
So I think there were really 2 things. The first being obviously the culture, and then the second being the ability to build, right? And so the culture for me, I had seen a lot of people in 2021 make the move over. Tim actually called me because Tim Macy called me because Tamir and I were Facebook friends, and like I was the only person that Tamir was friends with that Tim knew. And so Tim called me when he was moving over, and I was like, dude, like that's such an awesome move for you. I love that. And like he was planting seeds. I know he was planting seeds now. But like a lot of my friends had come over, people I knew and respected. And so that was like part of it, right? Just like being in business with friends and doing things. But then the building thing has been really cool, and being able to kind of help to, have your fingerprints on the company kind of thing, but have just a hand in some of the things that we do and give input and stuff like that.
Well, you're talking about building, and so obviously you're talking about building the team because we're in all 50 states, so you can go nationwide, but you're also talking about agent attraction and building a network, right? Talk to me about that, because you've grown into one of the top 10 builders in the entire company now with a network of 3,500 plus at this point. Obviously, I don't think you made the move for that, but you said that it's now grown and become a thing. Talk to me all about how you got successful in that realm, what it entails, and what it's meant for you guys.
Yeah, it's funny because I truly didn't understand revenue share.
Me neither.
Like I was like, can you explain it to me? And like Tim will explain it to me. And I now think I'm like, it's probably Tim didn't explain it well, but he like explained it to me, and I'm like, I don't understand this, but like cool, if I bring people over, I'll make money, and like I should put my agents on my tier 1. Cool, got it, Obviously I think that I understand it a little bit better now, but the biggest thing I can attribute my success to is relationships, right? And so there are a lot of companies out there that say, hey, if you join us, we will give you these text templates, or we'll have recruiters text for you, or we'll have cold callers call for you and do all of these things. And like, oftentimes that does help to bring people over, but those aren't sticky relationships. And it's very difficult, like once someone is here, to then kind of like build that rapport, to be like, hey, like welcome, let's be friends now. It's way easier to be like, hey, we're friends, let's do business together. And so when I look at my network and I look at the people in my group, and just the people I know at the company that have grown a ton, it's normally because they have really good relationships either with people at their current brokerage when they make the move, or previous brokerage, when they have good relationships in like coaching communities, they're speakers, or they're just very connected people, right? Like the people that go to a mastermind or they go to a happy hour, and like they're always the ones that know someone, or they're like, oh, you need someone in, Denver, you need someone in Boise, I've got 2 people, let me send you a contact card, right? Like we were texting the other day, and like a person asked for someone on your thing, and I was like, oh, here, I've got a guy, right? So I always like want to be that person. But the people that are most successful, I think, with agent attraction at the company are the ones that like just have really good relationships throughout the industry.
Yeah, I think there's a lot less focus on recruiting, and it just happens to be you're already doing the thing at a high level, and so you attract a lot of people who are like-minded and then want to be a part of it.
Well, and I think that it's like oftentimes people are like, oh, it's because, you know, and you have this too, and I think you've probably heard this, like, oh, well, you have a great following on Instagram, so that's why you've built a network, and it's like, all of that came from, I think, pouring into the industry and pouring into things, even on a smaller scale. Like we were joking around about the things that we did 10 years ago, you know, and how that kind of all set into motion where we are today. And so for someone who doesn't have a network or hasn't brought anyone over to the company and they want to, it's like, how can you pour more into the communities that you're in? And like, I know it's very cheesy, but like then like the payoff down the road will find you, but it's like hard to kind of see that when you're in the today moment.
For sure. What do you see as the future of Real? And I know that's a loaded question, and so I'm just saying, like, we've been now a 10-year company, although it's been kind of 5 in its current iteration. We've hit 33,000 agents now.
Yeah.
But you and I have discussed, you know, about the goal, the stretch goal of 100,000. And what is it going to take for Real to go from 33,000 to 100? What do you see as the next phase over the next 3, 5, 7 years?
So when I look to the future, I first look back, right? And so I look at kind of what's gotten us here, and we know the like what got you here won't get you there phrase, and I think we've said it to each other 15 times in the past week.
Absolutely.
But when I look back and I look at the things that we were successful with, a lot of it was in spite of what the brokerage was doing, right? And so like when I came over in 2021, like we were having issues with payments, we were having issues with transactions, like none of the systems read to each other.
A lot of small startup companies have these, right? The early days.
And so, you know, all of that was like, some of that was difficult to have to work through, but like now, like we own all of our technology, like we have, you know, all of the development teams, like the product teams and the development teams and the tech teams, and like, you know, Jenna's team has a team, right? And so like, we're able to be way more nimble. So with that, I think when we look at growth, it's less of like the one-on-one and more of like, I see Real in more of like a world of helping bigger brokerages to come over and use us as their platform, but still run kind of their own operations. You know, we have pro teams, right? And so the easiest way to describe it is like super customizable for everything that you do, right? So for caps, for team caps, for real caps, for, you know, splits, for splits for different deals, different lead sources, different agents, like you can customize everything. And that wasn't always the case. We would have to be like doing napkin math and then putting in like 32.7% commission, right? And like now you can have these things where you're taking money off the top and then splitting it, or you're doing different stuff. So all of that to say, I see more brokerages moving over, especially with private label, where they can keep their branding and they can keep their stuff.
Huge,
you know, I see, obviously, the world is very noisy right now with like, you know, Compass and the Anywhere, you know, merger, acquisition, whatever we want to call it. But that move, and I see things like that happening, maybe not on that scale, but on smaller scales and things like that. And I think that Real will probably be a part of things like that because our model and platform are so customizable. It'll allow people to make the move and not have to just upend their entire business like many of our indie brokerages did 2, 4, 5 years ago. Like they just had to shut it all down. Now they'll be able to kind of be a little bit more hybrid than previously.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's switch angles just a little bit and talk about the agents. If you were an agent coming into the business right now, or you're just getting started, maybe year 3, 5, what will be your number one focus for 2026, lead gen wise, or maybe it's just like focusing on follow up? What would you be doing this year to get more business?
So it's difficult to say one thing, right? Because it's like when you put all of your eggs in one basket.
Just one thing.
No, I know. But you know what I mean? So it's like, I always coach all of my agents to have 3 to 5 pillars, right? Of what they are doing. And so one of their pillars is always like team generated leads and team generated stuff. But then, you know, I think the things that I coach my agents to is like most of them have a farm where they live, right? And so they do a lot of like, you think about like live, work, play, and like that little triangle, focusing in on that and being that. And like we're at your gym right now, which is like what, less than 10 minutes from your house?
It's 5 minutes,
you know, and so this is kind of your like zone where it's like you came in here and you're giving everyone fist bumps, giving high fives, like you know everyone by name kind of thing.
My people.
Right?
Yeah.
And so like that's where if you were selling real estate in here, like I would focus all of your efforts in making content, doing highlighting restaurants, like all of that, if that's where you want to work, right? So the farm, and then that kind of segues into content. And so I think that building a personal brand now is one of the most valuable things that you can do, especially for real estate agents, because it makes you recognizable. And when you do content at a local gym, then like that gym, then it's like, oh man, like that Jason guy, he's so great. Like you're always top of mind for them. And so that's something that, again, long-term play, but like building a brand is huge for me. And then I think from there, it just depends on what your kind of zone of genius is and where.
Good call there.
Yeah, where.
Heard that talk before.
I've heard something like that.
Talk.
Yeah.
Great talk. Rev B 2025.
Huh. Weird. Anyways, no, but like where you want to operate. And so for some people that is door knocking, for some people that is open houses, for some people that is just doing social media. But like, I think that you just need to be multifaceted in some way.
Yeah.
And so building that personal brand, focusing on where you live and like loving on your community. And then from there, just picking 1 to 2 lead pillars and working those really, really well until you maximize them and do them well. And like last night we were at dinner with like Byrne, and he like has recently started a new Instagram channel and a new YouTube channel.
Shout out to Byrne McGovern, San Diego, California.
Yep. But like he had already mastered the one YouTube channel, and now he's layering on more. If he would have tried to do all of that at once, he would have failed.
Totally. Yeah.
So,
well, landing the plane. What's next for Katie Day in 2026? Whether that be, because we've talked a little bit about the 100,000 agent
100
count.
million.
The 100,000 goal, Science of Scaling, which is the book that you're turning into kind of a workshop along with Noelle and kind of some of the real peeps. Talk to me about what's next for you this year. What's your focus on, both from a real side as well as like a real estate life side?
I think from the real side, when we talk about like the what got us here won't get us there, I think one of the things that did get us here and that is so great about our community is our community. And I know that I kind of stopped traveling as much, stopped going to live events as much, and like people crave community and live events. And so, you know, with the Further Togethers that, you know, we did last fall and then now we're doing in the spring, like the entire idea is like doing events that are like for agents, by agents, where we're pouring into our own communities, right? On a kind of grassroots basis and level. And it's, you know, every agent that hosts them, like they're the ones that are responsible for putting everything on and finding sponsors and like being on the hook for everything for it. And I mean, you did one, right? So like, you know how stressful it is, but like, doing more of those, supporting our agents to do more of those. And then with the whole Science of Scaling, like we're sitting at 33,000 agents now, 30,000 plus or minus, right? We say, hey, could we get to 100,000 by the end of the year? And if so, what will we have to like break down and change? And so for me, those are like one-to-one conversations of like, okay, Jason, what does that look like for you? If you're at X, how do you get to Y?
Yep.
And then it like every single person I've had that conversation with, there's like you see the like doubt and then that like breath, and they're like, well, I'd have to A, B, C, D. And it's like, okay, well then how do we implement that and how do we make that into something that you can be accountable to every single week? Right? Because like, I mean, we can make all of these goals and make all of these things, but if we have no framework or structure to get there, it's never gonna happen. And so then we can focus in on the 2 to 3 things or 4 things that it's like every single week I'm going to go to coffee with this many agents, I'm going to shoot this many pieces of content, I'm going to whatever it is that's kind of, again, your zone of greatness.
Totally, yeah. I think that when you first said that, I was thinking about it from my real estate perspective because I had the team at the time, and so I was like, okay, we did 80 deals last year, our goal was 100. Well, what if our goal was 500? I'm like, well, obviously, so the first thing that comes to your mind is like, obviously I can't do that, like how would you do that? But what if I could? And like, how would I do it? And then you start to break it down. I'm like, man, I would need to probably 5X my team, because if I have 100, I'd need to 5X. So I would need a full-time recruiter. And then maybe I'd have to get in with like a couple flippers or developers who are doing high volume. How would I find them? And so you start thinking about it, even in a rhetorical sense, like what it would take to then build that type of business. And I really love the thought. Obviously, it's from the book, but you guys are putting it into play, both in the real estate space and then in the real space as well. And I think it's fantastic. I think it's probably the most important thing that real is focusing on right now. So shout out to you. Keep doing it.
Hey, you know, I read a book and then I got a wild idea.
Okay, so last question as we phase out: who would win in a mile race, me or you?
I mean, I think that we probably should just put it to the test.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Rise this year?
I can try to find a track.
I think we can find a track somewhere.
We go find a track in Las Vegas and put some money on the line.
You're on. The bet is on.
Let's go.
Let's go.